So we just learned how to build a folder to upload our course syllabus. Now it's time to begin creating folders so that we can provide students content and coursework for our weekly lessons. And I say weekly because typically that's how we work. We work on a weekly schedule. When we build our syllabus, we typically build our syllabus around the weekly calendar. When we're assigned courses, one of the first things we look at is whether we're teaching a 16, an 8, or a 5-week course. So we want to build weekly folders so that students can find everything they need for that week in that one place. So before we get to that, I want to address MyGrades. MyGrades is a tool link that by default is built into your courses. This is where students can see their grades in the course. So if I click on it now, if you click on it in your course, you're not going to see anything because you're not a student. You don't have grades. But we want to place this link somewhere that's intuitive for students. So I want to recommend that you drag it above and put it under syllabus and course information, because the grade in their course is course information. So they can always access their grades from this particular link under syllabus and course information. And now that MyGrades tool link is not floating around aimlessly on your course menu. Okay, so again, we want to focus on creating an area, a section where students can access their course content. So there's already a divider right here. So the first thing we want to do is come up to our plus sign. And if you don't see the plus sign, that's because your edit button is not on. So always make sure your edit button is on over here on the right-hand corner. I want to hover on this plus sign and add a subheader. I'm going to click there. Okay, and I'm going to call this course content. Okay, that's intuitive. It lets students know that this next section is all about the course content. And luckily, it lands exactly where we want it to, here in the bottom of our menu. So now we need to create containers to put our weekly content for our students, much like we did for our syllabus. So we're going to go to the plus sign up at the top and select content area. Now, we need to give our content containers very intuitive names. And because I just mentioned that we're working off a calendar, I think the easiest thing and the most intuitive thing for our students is to give these weekly calendars, or these weekly folders rather, names based off the calendars. So as of now, as of March the 17th at 11:30 in the morning, we are still scheduled to go fully online on March the 30th. So our first week of coursework will be March the 30th. So we can say let's say week of March 30th. Okay, I'm going to make it available to users and hit submit. So that lets students know that the week of March 30th, their coursework will be in this folder. I'm going to create just a few more for good measure. You're going to probably wind up creating 7 folders, right? I believe as of now, we are moving to a 7-week semester for Minimester 2, or the rest of the semester if you're teaching a 16-week course. So we're going to have probably 7 of these folders based on the calendar. So I'm going to go to the plus sign up at the top, okay, and select content area. And our next week would be week of April 6th. Make it available to users. Hit submit. Now I'm going to create one more for good measure. Content area, week of April, I believe the 13th. So here we are. I have created 3 content folders. So now we've created 3 content areas. Again, you're probably going to wind up creating 7 content areas. If you can think of a more intuitive title for your content areas, please use them. But probably the best option would be to use these weeks, designating by the weeks. Now notice the boxes next to them indicate that these content areas are empty. If you choose to edit the title of the content area, you can simply select its contextual menu and rename the link and edit the name, and then hit the green check mark to save those edits. You can also edit the folder by clicking onto the folder opening the folder, it'll be indicated at the top, and editing it here. Okay, so that is how we create content areas. And now I'm going to show you how to add one particular type of content to these content areas, and that's called an item. So I am in the folder for the week of March the 30th. Okay, I'm going to click on it again. So the first thing I want to show you as far as building content for your students is an item. So I go to build content and item. An item allows you to provide students with information. It's not an assignment, it's not any particular tool. It's simply for sharing information with students. So you would use an item to provide students with an introduction to a lesson, to provide them perhaps some notes or information about the unit or the chapter. In my case, I like using my items as introductions to that week's content. So I'm doing it for the week of March the 30th. So if I were teaching history, I might be perhaps around chapter, let's say, chapter 8, for example. So I can say here, introduction to chapter 8, because that's what we're going to work on this week. And one of the things I want to highly recommend that you do with students is to provide them the objectives for that week. Adult learners, which are the vast majority of our students, adult learners like to know where they're going with the content that week. What do I need to know? Right? Tell me what I need to know. So if you provide students with objectives, what they need to learn or what they should be able to do by the end of the week, it gives them purpose, it gives them direction, and it gives the content that you've provided them purpose and direction, right? So list your objectives. What do they need to learn this week? And then this is a good place to also provide perhaps a do list. These are your objectives, and you're going to meet those objectives by doing this particular week, okay? Don't forget, and you can use your bullets here on your content editor to tell students to read the chapter. You might think it's a given, that it's a no-brainer that students need to read chapter 8, but we never want to assume anything with students. So the first thing we want to tell students to do for that week is to read chapter 8. And you may even want to say, it's Monday, the week begins on Monday, read chapter 8 by, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesday, or read the first half of the chapter by Wednesday, then the second half. So giving them a little bit of a timeline also will give them some time to do their coursework, because they don't want to read the chapter on Saturday if your coursework is due by Sunday night, right? And so don't forget to tell them to read the chapter, and then maybe they need to read the notes that you've uploaded for them, and then they need to either take their quiz or participate in a discussion. Or maybe they need to complete a short assignment that you're providing them, right? So let them know what they need to do that week and what the objectives for the week are. So this is what's called an item. Again, it's informational only. You can attach, you can attach documents to your items. So for example, in history, our textbook comes with some chapter outlines. So let me see if I can access those. So let's say I have a chapter outline here in Word. I can attach that chapter outline to this item, and here what it says, read chapter 8 and take notes on the chapter outline provided. So I can provide them this outline in Word, okay? And I can say here that it is in Word so that they know ahead of time that they're going to need Word to download it. And you may or may not know, but students have free access to Microsoft products through My EPCC. If you'll indulge me just a moment, I'm going to go here to My EPCC. Do you see where it says My Apps? Faculty and students have free access to Microsoft Office by clicking on My Apps. And then there should be a download button that allows you to download right here, install Office. And students can install Office in, I believe, up to 5 devices. We would need IT to confirm that. But students can install Office into their home computer, their laptop, their desktop. I believe they may even be able to install it into their mobile devices if they have enough memory. If students need assistance with this, if you need assistance with installing Microsoft Office, contact the EPCC IT department at 831-6440, and they can assist you with this. But students have access to all of these for free. Well, as for being an EPCC student. So if you are going to require students to use Word, it's good that you let them know that where they can get Word for free so they don't have to spend money on it. Okay, so you can attach documents like that. And then you want to make it available for users to view, and you want to track the number of views. Again, if students say I didn't know or I didn't see it, you can track the number of views to see if students are clicking or viewing that particular content. And then I hit submit. So here is my item, right? It's an introduction to Chapter 8. Notice there's really nothing for me to do with this other than to read it. Items are simply, again, informational, but I do have here a blue link, which means I can download this Word document. Notice how it makes me download it. So let students know maybe I need to put more instructions here, and that's very important when you're teaching online, putting very clear instructions and directions. So that students know what to do and how to do it. So I may want to edit this here and perhaps add something that says, download the Word document by clicking the blue link. So there I'm giving them a little bit of instruction, direction, because again, just like you're new to Blackboard, the students who have transitioned from face-to-face to online are completely new to Blackboard too. So we never want to assume students know. And so we want to provide as much instruction and direction as possible. So I've added that there, submit. I can hit submit with those changes. And now I've provided them a little more information. So download the Word document by clicking the blue link. So that is an item. Again, items are informational. And what you should do for every week is the same thing. Consistency is key. So for every weekly folder that you build, do the same thing. Introduction to Chapter 9, Introduction to Chapter 10. Provide them with their objectives for the week, and then a short to-do list. What do they need to do that week to meet those objectives? Okay, so that is how we create content areas for our content and how we build items. And again, an item, you can create as many items as you want. Okay, but remember, items are meant to be informational only. Okay, so again, content items here, and then content folders based on the week of the calendar, so that students know exactly what coursework they are doing each week. And before I let you go, I want to cover one more thing with you. We don't want students to get ahead of the coursework. The reason why is because while you're focusing on Chapter 8, you don't want students asking you questions about Chapter 10. And if you're having students participate in discussions, you want the discussions to be relevant and timely, what you're covering that week. If a student is already on Chapter 10, by the time the students catch up, that student's comments will almost seem a little bit outdated, even though it is only 2 weeks. So you may want to open the folders on a weekly basis. So let me show you what that means. I'm going to click on the week of April 6th, the second folder here. I'm going to go to Edit up here at the top. Okay. And when I scroll down here, where it says Select Date and Restrictions, I'm going to tell Blackboard, open this second folder for April 6th on April 6th. So I'm going to use my calendar to go here to April. And I want you to open it at midnight. So at midnight on April the 6th, this folder will become available to students. So I'm going to hit submit. You see over here on the menu on the left, it says week of April 6th, and there's a box with a line through it. It says that this is hidden from students. Okay, this will not open for students until midnight on April the 6th. Automatically, you don't have to do anything. You set the dates and it'll do it automatically. And let me show you. Let me go to Student Preview over here, the top right-hand corner. And when I go to Student Preview, that folder will not appear for me. Notice week of April 6th is gone. even though there's content in it, because Blackboard knows that I am not supposed to see that content until April the 6th. Okay, so that's one thing we can also recommend, that you set your folders to open automatically at midnight, the day of the week that your content is supposed to begin, so students don't get too far ahead. While I appreciate students wanting to get ahead, if you have students working at the course in different parts of the course at different times, it can make it a little more difficult for you to manage. And also discussion won't be timely when it comes to student discussions. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time. I'm going to fix it for the week of April 13th. I'm going to click on this folder here. I'm going to go to edit here at the top, edit. And I'm going to tell Blackboard right here under date and time restrictions to display this folder on April the 13th at midnight. Okay, and I hit submit over here in the bottom right hand corner. So now I see that box with the line through it telling me that this is hidden from students, but it will open automatically on the 13th. Okay, so just a quick review before I let you go. You build your content folders here so that you can put content, put it based on a weekly basis on your calendar. Inside of each of these folders, you should build an item, build item. Call it an introduction to whatever chapter or lesson or topic you're covering that week, and provide students their objectives for that week and a short to-do list. What do they need to do that week to meet those objectives? Okay, so we're going to stop that lesson there. Again, if you need help with doing any of this, call the Blackboard Help Desk or email us at dlss@epcc, and we'd be happy to help you. Please note that it could be difficult to help you over email sometimes, so it might be best to call the Blackboard Help Desk because they can provide you much better assistance over a phone than we can over email. Okay, thank you, and we'll see you on the next video.